Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Gossip Star Vibe, because what you're about to hear isn't just devastating, it's utterly shocking. Picture this. Papoose, the man who epitomized loyalty in hip-hop, falls to his knees, literally pleading with doctors to save the woman he loves. Remy Ma, tears on the floor, frantic cries echoing through cold, sterile ICU walls. And just when you think it couldn't get worse, the real bombshell drops. Hidden cameras, yes, hidden cameras, capture the unimaginable. Doctors, the very individuals entrusted with saving her life, concealing a dark, heartbreaking secret behind locked doors. Was it incompetence, negligence, or something far more sinister? Where were the miracle workers they promised? Where was the urgency, the compassion? Or, and here's the question you won't hear on the evening news, was Remy Ma's battle for life sabotaged from within? Get ready, because what you're about to uncover will destroy everything you thought you knew about loyalty, hospitals, and the harsh reality buried behind those gleaming white walls. This wasn't just an accident. And the evidence? It's all on tape. It was meant to be an ordinary night. A quiet dinner, a few laughs, maybe some Instagram stories. But for Remy Ma and Papoose, that night turned into a nightmare they couldn't escape. One moment, she was smiling. The next, she was gasping for air, collapsing at the dinner table. Panic ripped through the room, screams, a 911 call. And within moments, the Queen of New York rap was fighting for her life inside a hospital she should have never trusted. But what happened next? Nobody was prepared. Papoose arrived like a man possessed. Security tried to block him at the door. Big mistake. He bulldozed through them, charging into the ICU, desperate to get to her. There she was, Remy Ma unconscious, connected to machines, and around her, doctors whispering anxiously, shifting, avoiding eye contact. Papoose sensed it instantly. Something was off. He demanded answers. He pleaded for updates. What he received? Cold shrugs, pre-scripted lies. We're doing everything we can. It's complicated. Stay calm. Stay calm? While the love of his life was fading away? And then it happened. Witnesses report that Papoose fell to his knees, right there in the hallway, sobbing, screaming, begging the doctors to save her. Not quietly, not politely, begging. Raw, broken, real. Security guards looked away. Veteran nurses wiped away tears. The ICU froze. But while Papoose broke down, something darker was unfolding behind closed doors. Leaked security footage they believed no one would ever see, showed doctors doing the unthinkable, laughing, joking, scrolling through their phones, while Remy Ma's heart monitor beeped warnings. And then one of them said it. Why bother? It's over. Those 5 words exploded across the internet like an explosion. While Papoose was pleading for his wife's life, the people trusted to save her were acting as if it were a coffee break. When the footage leaked, social media exploded. Save Remy Ma, wash our hospital, cover up, our justice. For Remy, millions demanded answers. News outlets scrambled for sound bites. Hospitals across the country went into emergency mode. Meanwhile, inside those sterile walls, Papoose didn't give up. Fueled by heartbreak and rage, he stormed into administrative offices demanding the footage, demanding to know why no one was fighting harder. Sources say it took 6 security guards to pull him away from the surveillance room doors. And just when it seemed like it couldn't get worse, it did. Another leak appeared. Confidential emails, private conversations between administrators. And what did they show? A horrifying plan. Hospital officials had allegedly agreed to limit aggressive life-saving measures if Remy Ma's condition worsened, to minimize liability. Let that sink in. They weren't trying to save her life. They were protecting their reputation, planning for her death. Papoose, heartbroken beyond words, refused to leave her side. Hour after hour, he sat beside her, whispering, praying, guarding. Outside his world, the internet raged louder with every passing minute. Inside, the whispers grew darker, the cover-up thickened, and the battle for Remy Ma's life, the battle Papoose never asked for but refused to lose, had only just started. The leaked footage didn't just trend, it sparked a full-blown revolution. Within hours of that ICU footage going public, the entire internet was aflame. Millions watched in horror as Papoose, on his knees, pleading for mercy, was ignored by the very people sworn to save lives. And the doctors, caught on hidden cameras laughing, scrolling, shrugging, while Remy Ma's heartbeat beeped slower and slower in the background. The world didn't just react. It erupted. How is this even real? How are they not in jail yet? Justice for Remy Ma, now. Yido save Remy Ma, wag hospital. Cover up, og no more lies. Within 24 hours, over 5 million tweets flooded the internet. Instagram was filled with black squares bearing "Pray for Remy" captions. TikTok creators stitched the footage into exposés, conspiracy theories, and open letters to politicians. And outside the hospital, chaos. Hundreds gathered at the entrance, holding signs, chanting Remy's name like a battle cry. Candles flickered, posters soared, one banner stretched across the street. They let her die to save their reputation. Meanwhile, inside the hospital, panic, complete meltdown. Administrators held emergency meetings. PR teams sent frantic emails, ordering staff to say nothing and destroy anything off the record. One leaked email read, "This footage is catastrophic. Minimize further exposure at all costs. Address all costs." And guess who they saw as the biggest threat? Papoose, because while the hospital tried to hide, Papoose was preparing for battle. Eyewitnesses described him sitting at Remy's bedside, motionless, eyes hollow, gripping her hand so tightly his knuckles turned white. He refused food, refused water, refused to leave, not for a second. And every minute he stayed there, the hospital's secrets unraveled faster. First, they restricted his access. Security stood outside the ICU doors. Suddenly, they claimed infection protocols required family to leave the floor. Yeah, right. Papoose wasn't fooled. The hospital wasn't protecting Remy. They were protecting themselves. Then came the final insult, an attempt to move Remy Ma to a so-called secure floor without even telling her family. A secure floor? Or a place to ensure no more cameras, no more leaks, no more witnesses? When Papoose found out, all hell broke loose. One witness said, "It was like watching a lion break out of a cage." He was unstoppable. Papoose sprinted through the halls. People witnessed chaos as Papoose, enraged, cornered the hospital director against a wall, yelling furiously, "Where are you taking her? Tell me now, or I will tear this place apart." The director, pale and shaken, stuttered, It's just precaution. Standard protocol." Precaution? When did precaution become about hiding a dying woman from her own husband? Outside, protests erupted. Entire city blocks came to a halt. Traffic was blocked. Chants rattled the windows. News helicopters hovered overhead. Reporters scrambled for angles. Influencers streamed the events live. Then it got even worse. The second leak emerged. A 47-minute body cam recording, secretly filmed by a nurse who couldn't stay silent any longer. The footage revealed alarms wailing for minutes, unanswered. Nurses chatting about their weekend plans while machines screamed. Life-saving medication requests ignored, then fabricated in reports. In one haunting moment, a nurse was seen disabling an alarm to stop it from drawing attention. This wasn't negligence. It was a cold execution by silence. When the video hit social media, people didn't just demand justice. They wanted blood. They murdered her. Shut the hospital down. No justice, no peace. Within hours, lawsuits piled up. Civil rights lawyers filed malpractice suits. Medical ethicists called for urgent reviews. Federal authorities quietly began their investigations. Meanwhile, Papoose? He sat alone in the cold hospital hallway, watching the footage of his wife's last moments, her unconscious body nearby. And when it finished, he punched the wall so hard his hand bled. Security offered to escort him out. His response? "You'll have to kill me first." Outside the hospital, the world stood with him. Fans projected massive images of Remy Ma onto nearby buildings. Rappers released tribute freestyles, calling out the hospital by name. Anonymous activists leaked internal hospital memos on Twitter. It was no longer just a story. It had turned into a movement, a revolution. And Papoose? He wasn't just Remy's husband anymore. He was the face of resistance. The deeper investigators dug, the darker the truth became. As emails, footage, and testimonies poured in, it was clear. Remy Ma wasn't the first, and she wouldn't be the last. The hospital had a history, a pattern of silent deaths, covered tracks, and quiet payouts. And this time, they messed with the wrong family, because Papoose now had an army supporting him, and they were just getting started. The world wasn't just demanding justice anymore. It was ready to burn down the gates to get it. Within 48 hours of the second video leak, more than 2 million signatures had flooded petitions. Civil rights attorneys, celebrities, and activists lined up on national TV, calling it the greatest medical betrayal of our time. And right in the middle of it all, Papoose. Not just the grieving husband, not just the desperate fighter. Now, he was a symbol of resistance. Standing on the hospital steps, cameras flashing from every angle, Papoose spoke the words that would resonate through history. They tried to erase her. They tried to erase the truth, but you can't bury justice, and you can't bury Remy Ma. The clip went viral, 50 million views in one day. Protesters flooded downtown streets chanting, "Justice for Remy! Shut it down! No more silent deaths!" Meanwhile, inside the hospital, it was like watching a kingdom fall apart. Top executives fled under police escort. Doctors locked their offices. Administrators frantically shredded files. Federal agents raided the administrative wing of the hospital, confiscating laptops, hard drives, and thousands of pages of documents. And what did they uncover? Not simply negligence, a full-blown criminal operation, years of concealed deaths, secret payouts to families, fabricated medical records, manipulated data to protect the hospital's reputation, all at the expense of human lives. Remy Ma's case had exposed everything. As names and evidence piled up, the hospital's board resigned en masse. Key personnel were arrested, handcuffed in public as cameras rolled. The Attorney General initiated an urgent investigation not just into the hospital, but the entire city's healthcare system. Meanwhile, Papoose remained steadfast by Remy's side. Sources reported that he camped outside her ICU room, refusing even interviews or media deals. "This isn't about headlines," he told a reporter. "This is about her." Inside Remy's ICU room, miracles began. Specialist doctors, flown in from across the country, that started aggressive, real treatment. For the first time in days, Remy's vital signs improved. The machines beeped in stronger, steadier rhythms. One day her hand moved. The next day she blinked. And then, in a moment caught by cameras worldwide, Remy Ma squeezed Papoose's hand, the smallest yet most powerful signal. She was fighting back. Outside, the movement grew louder. Remy Ma's face was projected onto City Hall. Billboards read, "Her voice saved lives." Documentary crews scrambled to capture every second. Netflix, Hulu, HBO, each bidding for the rights to tell the story. But Papoose wasn't interested in the money. He wanted justice. The prosecutors delivered. In a historic indictment, several hospital executives were charged with gross negligence, criminal conspiracy, tampering with evidence, obstruction of justice, reckless endangerment. Courtrooms were packed as public trials began. Papoose sat in the front row every day, watching, expressionless, as the people who nearly ruined his family faced justice. And when the verdicts came in, guilty, 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 jail time, massive fines, the hospital, bankrupt, disgraced, permanently shut down. But that wasn't all. In response to the scandal, Congress passed new national legislation, known as Remy's Law, mandating all hospitals to have independent real-time surveillance, patient advocate rights, and public emergency reporting for critical cases. Remy Ma's story didn't just uncover a crime, it transformed the system forever. Meanwhile, back in the hospital, Remy Ma made her own slow but unstoppable recovery. Physical therapy, speech therapy, endless hours retraining her body to move, to walk, to fight. And Papoose was there every painful step of the way, never leaving her side, cheering every movement. quietly crying when she took her first unassisted breath. Months later, the moment arrived. Remy Ma stood on her own 2 feet, wobbly but strong, as cameras captured the moment the world had been praying for. She took Papoose's hand. Together, they walked out of that hospital's front doors, past the crowds, the reporters, the banners, into the sunlight. And when they stopped at the top of the steps, Remy Ma, voice trembling but clear, said, "They tried to break me. They tried to bury me, but love made me unstoppable." The cheers erupted so loudly they rattled the streetlights. Papoose and Remy Ma didn't just survive, they triumphed. And the dark secret that almost took her life? It sparked a revolution. Because sometimes, it's not the largest armies or loudest protests that change the world. Sometimes, it's one man refusing to kneel, one woman refusing to die, one love that refuses to break. And because of that love, an empire of lies collapsed. Remy Ma's survival wasn't just a victory, it was a warning. We are watching now. We will never be silent again. And it all began with one man, on his knees, refusing to give up. And there you have it. A story that began with one desperate cry for help, and ended with an entire system brought to its knees. Papoose didn't just fight for Remy Ma's life. He fought for every voice that had been silenced, every truth buried too soon. But here's the real question. How many more hospitals are hiding their failures? How many more families are grieving in silence while cover-ups continue behind closed doors? It's time to stop pretending. It's time to stay alert. We want to hear your voice. Do you believe real justice was served? Was Remy Ma's survival enough? Or is this just the beginning of a much larger fight? Drop your unfiltered thoughts in the comments. Smash that like button if you believe loyalty and love are stronger than corruption. And don't forget, subscribe to Gossip Star Vibe, where we don't just report the story. We expose the truth they're terrified you'll uncover. Stay tuned, stay questioning, stay unbreakable. Because at Gossip Star Vibe, we're just getting started.